We'll call the meeting to order. We've had regrets from Councillor Murphy. And I guess maybe what I should do in line is introduce our new clerk, which is Lori Murphy, who's replaced Ailey for her maternity leave. So, welcome, Lori. Welcome.
Welcome, Laura.
I have an agenda. Any additions or do you have any additions for the agenda? If not, motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Carried. Any conflict of interest from anybody? And it's something that as we go, if somebody has a conflict with something
Did you
we're
mention one,
discussing,
Councillor
they can declare it at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, as well. We have no presentations tonight. We have the minutes of a special council meeting of August 19. Anybody want to
Slow move.
moved?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Carried. Business arising, transportation and infrastructure renewal. I guess that's something that we had asked at the last meeting, to have them come and give us some kind of a update or a presentation or whatever on things that need to be done. So were they contacted or?
They were.
They were?
They were, initially we said that perhaps they can come in today, and they said that would be possible, so we're checking on another date now. I don't
Okay.
think we landed on another date just yet, no.
No.
So they are aware that we want.
Yes, and I'm sure they're busy, I mean, they're busy now, but,
Yeah,
you know, but anyway, that's fine. Councilor reports. Anybody have any reports? So we want to start with Councilor Dick.
Okay, with a fairly busy summer, attended the Pubnico area Charter Night Supper at the Lions Hall, Aboriginal Days at the Musée Acadien, Mariner Centre management meetings, celebrations at the July 1st celebrations at both the Musée and the Village Historique de Nouvelle-Écosse, meeting in Clare concerning the Congrès Mondial 2024, airport meeting, Mariner Centre meetings, EMO meeting, and meeting with the West Pubnico Fire Department.
Okay.
Thank you.
Support.
I attended various meetings. I attended the East Pumlico Bike Park. They had, the recreation had a fun morning. It was in the morning, which was well attended.
Yes.
Also, July the 1st activities and at the Musée and the Village as well, and I did go to Clare for the Congrès Mondial meeting. I went to the Industrial Commission meeting, August 29th. Also, I attended a memorial event that was during the Wharf Rat Rally. They had it at Maple Grove, so I attended that. And Friday, we are having a barbecue for the staff of Nikhil.
Is it Friday?
Yes,
Yes,
the
it is Friday.
13th.
Yes.
Yeah, and so it's the board members that are cooking and serving the staff of Nikhil.
Okay. Councilor Long.
I'll be short. Again, as everyone said, busy summer, doing various things. However, just recently our Westport Tuna Tournament just wrapped up. Again, I believe there's a thank you letter later down on the agenda here from the tournament to council appreciating our contribution. It was a successful event from my perspective. I'd like to take a second to congratulate the crew of the Provider. Provider's a brand new vessel. It was captained by Kamil Shekar, I believe, during the tournament, and they caught a 684-pound bluefin, which went to market to raise funds for our tournament, then our tuna museum. So congratulations to them. And side note, Victor LeBlanc was approximately 80 years old, was aboard when they caught the tuna. He said he's been fishing in the area, I think, 59 years for the species. So he's going to go for one more year. He was hoping for, make it an even 60. I heard. So that was a pretty cool story. So again, it's really, really big and successful event.
Okay. Councilor Strett.
I'll skip any meetings or whatever I've done, like the rest I've done plenty, but just, I'd like to make it just a statement that I'd like to thank all our EMO staff, all the staff at the municipality of Argyle, all the Nova Scotia Power staff and their linesmen for all the hard work they've been doing to connect our power back to all the communities in the municipality of Argyle. I'd just like to say a big thank you on behalf of all the residents and myself. Thank you so much. That's it.
And again, I won't repeat what people's already said, I attended committee meetings like everybody. Been a busy summer for me, work-wise, but I did take in a fair number of events at the Buptic Festival this year, and they had some new ones. It was well supported this year, it was a very good fireworks show.
How's
And,
that?
so, I'll pass it on to
Okay.
Nicole.
Most recently, I guess, the doctor recruitment team had, well, you've probably seen in the media that the navigator has been hired. Rebecca Rose has been hired to be the navigator to try and recruit doctors for our area. I attended the EMO meeting on September 4th, and part of the discussion was the comfort centers and where they would be opening shop in case of the hurricane and what would happen. And as Councillor Surratt said, I feel like it seemed to go well. It seemed like they were well prepared. And just last night, I attended the Eelbrook Fire Department meeting, and I was there mostly to hear about their building, and they're a bit kind of like us and a little bit stalled with waiting for some architect work to come in before they can move forward. That's it.
Councillor Don.
Like many other councillors, attended various, I guess, festivals and openings and stuff this summer. I guess I want to stress that the Bay of Fundy Sea Kayaking Symposium is back this year, 13th to the 15th of September, so starting Thursday, I guess Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And there is a committee dinner, which is a fundraiser in West Pimlico at the Legion. There's two groups that are going to be catering, the Ladies Auxiliary of the West Pimlico Fire Department, and also the group from the Glenwood Hall. So they are sharing in the responsibility and sharing in the profits. So it's a fundraiser, and I've got tickets. If the general public wants to attend this event, it'll be haddock and turkey with all the trimmings, and they have a guest speaker. Nigel, I forget his last name, but he's from England. He's a world-renowned kayaker who's going to be the guest speaker. It'll be a great evening. It'll be a great chance for people to mingle and socialize with the sea kayakers, because every time they show up, people see the kayaks on the cars and the trucks, and then they're gone, and people are like, wow, what's going on, right? So this is a way to kind of mingle with the public, and that's one of the things that they want to do, not just economic impact, but also the social impact, so that people know that Argyle is a world-class kayaking area. Things that we take for granted, these people are like totally gangbusters on. So. Okay. And a side note, attended Councillor LeBlanc's wedding. Got married on the Tuscan Islands on a beautiful day. What was the date anyhow? August 31st?
Forget. August 31st.
Yeah.
Thank you. Some of the kayakers are around now.
I actually met today,
Yeah.
coming here,
Yeah.
met a car from Ontario. I recognized the place with a kayak on top, so
Yeah.
chances are this is what they're coming for, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. My report is there. There's an attachment. If you have any questions on any of them. If not, we'll go to staff report. CAO.
Thank you, Councillor Surratt, for mentioning EOC, EMO. Certainly, this is probably the first time that we operated as a quasi-remo. So Max and Janine opened the EOC in Yarmouth and worked there. We did have a military presence. I believe the military they're either leaving or they're gonna leave very soon, but they came in and did some recovery work as well. So I think that happens in a lot of different places in Nova Scotia. So just a quick overview, a lot of tree damage and a lot of power outages. Power is being restored. Guy, I think you have power now, so it's
Noon time today.
noon time. So there's
So
still
do
some
you, huh?
pockets.
So
Yes,
do you.
same, we're on the same grid. We're on the same grid. So the generator's not gonna keep everyone up at night. The neighbors are probably gonna
Yes, you're
complain.
right.
There's still a pocket right here in
Yes.
Tusket, from the, what's that road that crosses over, by the credit union,
Van Horn?
Ben Norton Road,
Yeah.
going up. The house on the corner has power, the next house, which is Charlie Muse's,
Yes.
up.
Yes.
Don't have power, I don't know how far it goes, I don't know if the school has power, I have no idea. They do.
The school?
Okay, so it's just a very small pocket there, and they're saying now Thursday,
Mm,
before they get it.
yeah.
I was
So-
just talking to his next door neighbor now, and that's what he said,
Okay.
maybe Thursday. Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's all right. You're the boss. It's your meeting.
But it's your report.
You can cut me off at any time.
Hey,
That's
Jim.
perks of the warden. So there's that. I would like to say that the West Pimlico and Tusket sewer experienced very little problems.
Okay.
So we were ready.
Yes.
Our crew was ready.
Yes.
We lost every single willow tree
Yeah.
on our property line.
Yeah.
Alex is in mourning.
I'm sure.
The Blue Jays don't know where to land, but we will recover those and we'll replant and it'll be just fine. Apparently willow trees grow fast. I didn't know that. I only learned that today.
Probably
What
down
about
before our
the-
building.
What about that tower? Did something fall on our tower? A tree or on a generator?
Yes, so there is
Yeah.
still a tree felled here that we haven't dealt with yet. It's on a wire. We've advised the Provincial Coordination Center that of its existence. We're concerned that it might damage the tower if the weight continues to stay. We had, the generator is completely functional. The trees that fell decided to fall to the left and to the right. So, leaving us with the nice generator. So we had the generator operating for, I'd say, not 24 hours, not 24 hours, and then power was restored. So there was very little damage to our properties, thankfully. The admin building, we hired our project manager. His name is Ian Everett, and he's on vacation until I think now, and he'll be assisting us. He has a lot of experience with public buildings. Was involved with McKeel Home at the time of its expansion, and has and does work for the NSHA and provides project management for the NSHA properties. So it comes with a lot of very good experience. We're very pleased to have him on, and we are going to go out to tender in the coming weeks for the public road construction, also moving the old homestead back. And so we'll be getting bids, they'll be going out in September, we'll be getting bids in the early fall, and with the construction, hopefully being able to be done within that timeframe. Contractors are busy, so we
And the house, will the house be put on some kind of a foundation or a flat cement?
It won't be able to be placed on a flat
Right,
surface
that's right, you
because
said,
of the
yeah,
structure.
you're right.
But we planned all along to have a basement, so the basement will have barrier-free access. So it'll be arranged such that you could access it for double door. And so that'll be, heavy storage, bulky storage for recreation, and the upstairs will be filing, archival, like papers, etc. So there's no requirement to have accessibility, like there's no requirement to put a stair from the up and down, because it's storage. So there's no requirement. So it was just accessible upstairs and downstairs, so, so that's the plan. So we're hoping that we're done in the fall. Again, at the mercy of contractors and timing, but that's the goal. Mariner Center expansion, just briefly, we did meet over the summer regarding this project. It's a longer game than we thought it would be. The expansion will, there'll be no decision on the project prior to any federal election, so a federal election will have to come and go before this gets reviewed in its final form. The MP and MLA were actually very helpful in telling us what the application may require to strengthen the application, so we'll be working alongside them to try to make that happen. The projection for operating expenses for the full expansion, we want to continue to do that. We want to be in a position where we understand what the cost of operations would be for the expanded facility. I say the delay, the time that we have now that we know nothing's going to be decided before the federal election affords us the opportunity to go out and get that information, and we would hire somebody independent to do that. We wouldn't do it internally. You know, we probably, the application is probably aggressive in the sense that it's very, very big. And so I wouldn't be surprised if the project was required to be modified in some way. That, we don't know that, but it wouldn't be surprising. We also did some vision work with the Mariner Center, and that involved certain counselors as well. And the final statement, I believe, will be issued soon. I don't know exactly what day, but it's been drafted. It was brought to the attention of the CAOs, and the CAOs provided their comments, and so that should come out very soon. The Airport Corporation, we had a board meeting yesterday. It's very difficult for the airport to make any decisions at this point because we have an outstanding funding agreement that has not yet been signed. So councils of the three have extended the original agreement twice, but we're now past the second deadline and it has not yet been signed. So that is high priority for the three CAOs to finish this work. Because quite frankly, the airport can't move on with management, different management, before they know what that looks like. So, so that's a challenge, and it's a personal challenge because, you know, interim manager is used to be, may not be me. So I say that with ambiguity purposely because in absence of nobody else, things still have to move. So anyway, so that's where we are with that. The Sea Cucumber appeal is on the agenda. I put it under decision. There's not really a decision to be made. I think I put it there because it was a decision. But I mean, you've all been made aware that the appeal was dismissed, and we'll see what occurs in the next short period of time. In the sense that we haven't. There's really no response required from our perspective, but obviously the developer will be interested in once 30 days goes by this period, he'll likely be very interested in talking to us about what that means.
So the 30 days is?
There's a potential, there's a small opening for an appeal period, so, which has nothing to do with us, would have to do with the appellants. So, I'm not really in the position to comment about what that looks like from a legal perspective, because I don't have any information on that at this time. So Human Resources, Vaughn is back, so that has taken a lot of pressure off Louis and Marty, and Ailey is officially on maternity leave. We welcomed Lori Murphy. And Kim has taken on her new role and is in her new role for almost a month, and has taken on some very important projects. And reaching out to our neighbors in Barrington with the learning from the possibility of losing manpower or person power that are trained in a very particular way. It would be important for us to cross-train our people to make sure that we understand as somebody on our end understands how the Barrington operation works, Brass Hill is their biggest wastewater. So it would be for us to go and sit with them and them to sit with us with Publico. And we wouldn't focus on all of them because the two largest ones would be the place of largest risk. And so there's a lot of other information here in the staff report. If there is any area you want me to speak on, in particular, and in any aspect of the staff report, including the department heads as well, I'm happy to answer any questions or get any additional information to you that you're thinking.
Any questions?
I just like the way that you've included this time past initiatives, future initiatives. I like that link because it kind of brings back what we've done, what we're working on, what we're working towards. I noticed that's different this time around.
Yes, I believe that was in Hans's section.
Yeah.
He was really diligent
I
in
like
showing, here's what we did and here's
Mhm.
what we're about to do. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a really good, well-written report for sure. I'll pass that along. Thank you.
Anything else? Hearing none. We'll move on to the agenda. And strategic priority topics, there's none listed for decision. Number one is the driver abstract policy. So we've already had notice on that,
Mhm.
so it can be voted on tonight
Yes, Ken.
as a policy.
Correct. And just to remind everyone, there were some questions around confidentiality
Yes.
that were associated with this, and I believe you'll find a section on confidentiality
Yes.
now.
I know.
Yeah, saw that.
Perfect.
So I think it covers pretty much all the concerns that were brought up at the last meeting.
We hope so.
I do believe, I think it was there.
I'll make a motion that we accept the driver's abstract policy for the municipality of Argyle.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Question called for. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Carried. The next one, the decision, the UARB appeal. I guess you pretty much covered that in your, at this point, like you said, it's just a matter of waiting for the developer to see, or after the 30 days.
From an administrative perspective, after the 30 days, presuming that this is done, the next step would be to both sign off on the development agreement and the sale of the land. Well, actually, the sale of the land first.
Yes.
And then development agreement
Right.
thereafter. From our perspective, I think it would be important to acknowledge that regardless of what the result of the appeal was, there will continue to be concerns
Of course.
about this potential development. And so from our perspective, with a little bit of time passing,
Yes.
we, staff, would like to reach out to some of the residents,
That were listed in the appeal.
or
Or
all
all of them
residents
there.
within a vicinity of that location.
Okay.
To
Not a bad idea.
to ask whether they want to participate in a form of subcommittee that could be a forum for complaints and or compliments or discussions, or, because the biggest concern, I think, one of the concerns that was raised was that it's fine, you have a development agreement, but will you enforce it
That's right.
as a
Absolutely
municipality?
That's right.
So I think, as showing of good faith, I think the way to do that is to reach out and say, look, we'll create a committee that involves the owner and involves the municipality, and involves whoever from the resident wishes to attend, and with the hopes that it wouldn't be, 20, but it would be a good representation,
Mhm.
and that we could have open communication around any issues that occur. at that location. And so it would just provide a means for us to not make it feel like it has to be a complaint-driven conversation, that it can be an open conversation.
Information sessions.
Right,
Yeah, great.
because, you know, there are things that always invariably happen in any sort of development that may not go the way that people plan. And so the best way, I think, is to provide that information. We have a developer that has said from the very beginning that he wants to make it work, and he's not, he doesn't, obviously he didn't share the level of concern that the residents did, and so I don't see that being a problem for the developer either. So I just wanted to pitch that idea to you. It's not a decision to be made today, but it's something I'd like for you to think about and maybe provide me some guidance on whether or not that's a good idea or whether that's not the proper way. It's not typical of what we do. However, when we do a major development like a Tuscan Sewer or West Pimlico Sewer, we create a committee. We create a committee.
Yeah.
So.
Personally think it's a great thing. And this really wasn't a typical decision that we normally make here, you know, so I believe it's a good thing.
I think that it's a great idea. Let's face it, that, you know, the results of this appeal they did to make them feel maybe that they're being listened to. And we're, you know, we do have some strong legislation there that, in the development agreement, that says what has to be done. And, you know, further strengthen what we're doing is by, I think it's such a great idea, bringing them on board and saying, hey, you're part of this now. Listen, join us. Let's work together. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? So there's no, like you said, it's more for information at this point. I mean, the decision has been made as far as the appeals, so. Road signs in municipality of Argyle, and that is to do with the French and English signs. And I'm telling you, there's a list of them. But there's a lot of them that already are French and English. But what, I think what's coming out of this is because of the Congress that's coming up in 2024, that they feel that perhaps all the signs in our municipality, since we're bilingual, should be listed as bilingual. What do we need here for decision? Do we just,
Well,
if we want these signs up in 5 years, we've got to get on it.
I think this is a great idea. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
I've been pushing for one for a year and a half now, so
yeah,
I've
thank
got
you.
s-
with that math, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got some in this book here, 3 years, and that is still no go.
No. So,
That's why we need to,
Well-
another reason we need that meeting with transportation.
because it has to come from them.
yeah, so.
They're the ones, it's their signs.
Right, so the CUPEB obviously has an interest in having the bilingualism and the tourism
right.
aspects of that. I mean, all great reasons why you'd want bilingual signage. Not every community necessarily would buy into that. That's
No.
one thing you have to think about.
We know there are some communities that won't.
Right, and so we have to be, we have a municipality to think about, which is a bit broader in scope. I think you also want to keep in mind safety.
Yes.
Sometimes when you make name changes that are considerable, you run the risk of not having public engagement with,
Tell me about it.
yeah.
Tell me about it.
Tittle. So, sometimes, you think the change is wanted, but it's not necessarily wanted once the change happens, and
Absolutely.
so, adding a chemin to a road has never been an issue for the department. In fact, Greg Newell at the time was ops manager, and he said, look, if you want to just put chemin Tittle Road,
Yeah.
we're never gonna have a problem with that. That's the road name, and
Yes.
it is what it is. It gets more complicated when you're saying, like, you're changing the name of Ditcher Road to Chemin Dicha, it was Dicha, 10 wars,
Oh,
Ditcher.
okay.
So then it was Ditcher, so now, like, that's changing the name,
Yes.
right?
Really?
So, I mean, Chemin Ditcher Road is not a change, but
No.
Chemin de Dicha is a road change name, a new road name change. So We just have to be mindful of that, and the fact of the matter is transportation has told us straight up that the budget doesn't necessarily, they're not prioritizing sign replacement over other things.
No.
So if we're gonna be successful with this, probably have to help the department find the money to do it, and CMA 2024 might be a way to do that.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Right, because there's other departments that could
That's right.
assist in funding
Yes.
a one-time event of this nature. So, you know, I had put in the recommendation that probably should talk to the Conseil Acadien de Panama to try to understand exactly what they're looking for and try to manage expectations around what that might look like, because we have been involved with a project like this before, and not all the signs were successfully changed. And we actually can't force that to happen.
You can request, but.
Yeah, I mean, but it's up to the department to
Mhm.
agree and to do it. So,
Oh, yes.
Would there be validity in consulting with our MLA,
Yes.
or anyone's opinion? I mean, it is a provincial matter, the signage, correct?
Mhm.
I'm guessing they're likely up to speed with the CUPEBS project, but just a thought.
I think the MLA-elect was a CUPED
Who was the
president.
president?
He's the
Might have an
president of
Might have an idea. Cool.
Yeah.
Councillor, you're going?
Yeah.
Councillor Strand?
At the NSFM meeting last year, I brought up the question about signs to the Minister of Transportation. And he stated that, you know, at the time, he knew that the sign situation was bad in all over the province. And he said that possibly what they could do, they've got this gravel program on dirt roads or something. He said maybe we can, once we finalize that, we could shift some of that money towards a signage kind of initiative. So I think if we could keep on pushing for that, that may help.
Our roads are important too.
You know, cut the bushes so we can
That's right,
see some of the
Felicia.
stuff.
We could add on and add on.
Let's cut the bushes first, because you won't see the
You
sign.
won't
unless
see
it's
sign.
on.
They can change- yeah, they can change
There's
the
an order,
signs, but There's an order to do this, right?
Danny, you should know that.
So, we need a motion here, so what, for what we, you know, where we go from here with this.
Could we meet with CAPEB? Is that the kind of a suggestion there? I think might be a first step.
That's what they're asking for, correct?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what,
Yeah.
I'd be willing to make that motion, at least, and see where we go, you know, have a meeting, go from there,
I'll second that.
and that, so.
Okay, so the motion is.
Move that the warden reach out to the board
Okay.
representatives from CAPEB, optionally including the CDNA, to organize a joint meeting of council and the board to discuss road name changes and other matters relating to CMA 2024.
Okay, so it's moved and seconded. And
Question?
Question called, all in favor?
Aye.
Contraminded? Carried. So, where are we, notice period municipal policy, okay, that's for the dangerous and unsightly policy.
Yeah.
And right now, we can just, it's just a reading at this point. Or can we change it?
Well, no,
It's
this
not
would be the
decision.
notice, this would be the notice,
Right.
period. And the reason, typically what I do with these is I send it via email a week before and say this is notice.
Yes.
But this is a considerable change to the policy.
Okay.
It's actually kind of a shift in direction.
Right.
So I'd like to be able to discuss it openly with council tonight and see what
Yes.
council, whether council
That's
likes
fine.
what is here or whether they want to go to a different direction.
Okay. So, you're on.
Okay, I will be brief. So what is added here is what we're calling the TLC program. And so, the background around this is the discussion that council has had in more than one occasion around what we do with dangerous and unsightly, and the argument or the balance between forcing people to clean or cleaning it forcibly and forcing them to pay for that cleaning, compared to certain circumstances where the municipality may actually inject its own financial resources to assist people for whatever the reason why they may need assistance. So the policy here is in draft form. I recognize there will be changes on this before it's done. What the policy is attempting to do is attempting to define what a dangerous or unsightly TLC loan means and what a grant or relief, TLC relief means, okay? What we have now, I'll tell you what we have now and the reason why we need to change it. What we have now is we're in purgatory around some of these properties where there is a loan outstanding. We are currently not charging the 16% interest because our history is telling us right now that we're not able to collect many of these balances because usually it's a major cleanup or a demolition, so somebody's abandoning the property. So to throw 16% on it and then have it be outstanding for 2 years and have a balance that is, unusually high on a property, and then we end up writing off that amount eventually. So that's been our reality right now. It doesn't make any sense. So from our perspective is that we know there are a lot of people out there that have issues that have to clean up, and we know that some have either some physical, mental reasons or restrictions that are getting in the way of them effectively doing this work, and we also know that there are financial reasons why that people cannot actually clean the mess that has been created either by them or by their predecessor. It may not even be them that picked that mess, if you want to call it that, if you want to pick it up. So what we're saying is there are qualified taxpayers that would qualify based on physical or mental health restrictions or financial restrictions. Those have not yet been defined. So whether that's a narrative that they give us in an application, or whether there's actually a calculation of particularly financial, we do calculations for low income exemptions. We use income thresholds for families as a guiding principle. Now, when somebody has health restrictions, that's a little bit more difficult. We don't necessarily want to burden doctors with notes and all these things that are typically required in these instances. We just haven't landed on that yet. So that's a place that we'll try to land on, and you'll tell us whether we landed appropriately or not. The other challenge we have with this work is that there is nothing like this across the province that I'm aware of. There might be one other, and it's nothing like this. So I did reach out to AMA, and they gave me information on what they're doing, but it looks nothing like what you're seeing. Okay, well, a little bit, but this is entirely new. So TLC relief means a lump sum dollar amount to be subtracted from the costs accumulated during actions initiated by us. So if we go in and we clean on behalf of someone, then if they're a qualified person, they have to apply for a loan. So they have to make arrangements to pay us over a period of time. And that period of time is not to exceed 7 years. And the interest rate is not 16%, it's 4%. So very similar to your water lending arrangement, okay? So the water lending arrangement is specifically enacted in the MGA. The MGA allows it specifically. In this instance, it's a little bit more gray because there isn't any wording around a long-term loan for dangerous and unsightly cleanup. There is, however, a lot of wording under tax collection that say you can make arrangements for payment. So it's not specific to dangerous and unsightly, but it is specific to you can make arrangements for taxation, that if people are making a monthly payment, you don't bring it to tax sale. Okay, and we do that now. It's just we're not doing it with dangerous and unsightly. What I'm proposing is to treat it very much like the water lending. It is a receivable, it's a payable from the resident, however, it's set aside, right? And as long as they're making those payments, they have to pay their yearly taxes to protect their property. That doesn't change. But if they're making the regular payments over here, that loan does not force the property into a tax sale. So why is that important? It gives them time to pay it off. They have to come in and make a payment arrangement. They have to be responsible. and we charge a much lower interest rate if that happens. And if they do that and they make the payments for the first 6 months, or if they're following the rules, they actually get a relief. They actually get a portion of that cost written off. Okay? So, and the calculation is, I created the calculation.
Can I interrupt?
Yes,
A portion of the interest rate or the portion of the actual loan?
the actual loan,
Like the principal?
correct. So the
Okay.
cleanup,
It's allowed on the MGA?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I think you would
Yeah,
take care of
I mean, all of this is gonna be checked with the province to make sure we're okay. But I mean, we do write off taxes. It has to be a motion of council to write off taxes. We cannot do it administratively. We have to bring it to council unless council allows it by policy. So you can write off, but it's a decision of council, and it's a decision that council can defer to a policy. Okay? So this is in essence what you're doing with this policy, but only for dangerous and unsightly. Okay? So to give you an example, I know there's a lot of words. Cleanup is done by us, it costs $10,000. So we sit with the resident agrees to make an arrangement to pay over 7 years. And then what happens is, if that goes successfully, and there are provisions that say that, you know, you have to make the payments and you have to make them diligently for a period of time. But right at the time as the loan is signed, there would be a reduction at that time. And the reduction would be the lower of three things: 100% of the tipping fees, right? And what's the logic there? Well, if they're gonna clean it on their own, and they're gonna bring that stuff to the dump, to the transfer station, and within the rules of 200 kilograms per week or whatever,
Yeah.
we would pay for those tipping fees.
Yeah,
So there's no reason why we wouldn't pay for them in this circumstance.
Absolutely.
And it allows them to do it professionally, right, and it's done. So then the other is 15% of the total cost, so that would be, in this case, would be $1,500. So if the tipping fees were 2,000, they'd be restricted to 1,500 and $2,000. So what we're saying is it would never exceed $2,000, no matter which property. So some cleanups are in the tens of thousands of dollars,
Yes.
and some are actually 4,000 or 5,000. So, so those three calculations, they come from a combination of Hans and myself based on looking at bills, looking at how that works. And so they're not unreasonable, and obviously could be changed if you want to change the policy. But what I'll do is, between now and the next time we have the conversation, I'll show you some of the outstanding bills and how much they are, and how much that particular resident would have received if they qualified for this. Okay?
that'd be important.
So you'll be able to see it from a numbers perspective. I know reading this, like, I've read it a million times, but you're just reading it, so I understand it's not something that's just gonna. So what we're also saying is, we would give them the grant right away, we'd give them that reduction right away, but if they defaulted in the first 6 months, it would be going back on the loan. So you can't play a game, or, you know, can't play it well. We're trying to protect the fact that, you know, somebody makes a payment arrangement for a loan that they had zero intentions to pay. They should not get the grant, right? So there's some protection in this for that. And also, obviously, if we do a cleanup and there's material that is taken off the property that has value in excess of $500, that comes to us. You don't, as a resident, you wouldn't get it and then us give you a grant. So, and what else? And then, well, there are provisions on default, and they're very similar to the water loan. If you default 3 payments, not necessarily consecutive, 3 total, the outstanding balance shall be immediately due and payable. So then what happens is, whatever the outstanding loan is at that time, that number goes against their taxes, and they got 2 years to pay. So it becomes as if it was taxes, and 16% interest is applied. So this arrangement is an opportunity for somebody to get a grant and to pay something off over 7 years. And if they can do that, then they have a beautiful property, and hopefully they don't reoffend. You can only go at this once. So if you are a repeat offender, you only get it once for any property. So,
You've mentioned that they would have to agree, they would have to agree prior to us going and doing the cleanup for the loan.
no, they would have to after the cleanup, I mean, we hopefully we'd be informing them of the policy and giving them a copy of the policy before. But they would not be entitled to any grant until they signed a long-term loan.
Okay, and if they
With
don't
us.
wanna sign a long-term loan, then it goes on their taxes.
That's correct.
Okay. Yes.
I don't think anybody should qualify for the TLC program if their property has been cleaned up and then can be deemed unsightly and unsafe again before they apply for the loan. Like if the property has become a shithole again, I don't think you should qualify.
No.
And
That
I-
they've been,
It's
something
been
has
cleaned up.
already been done, and then it's right back to where it was, is
And
what you're
worse.
saying,
And
and worse.
And worse, yeah.
Then they should not qualify. is what
they
you're
should
saying.
automatically go to the 2 years and let the chips fall where they fall.
So.
This is somebody not even trying to help themselves.
So the intention of this policy would be that we would seek to look at anything that we did that was not, that no arrangements have been made as of yet, and they potentially would qualify once. So if we have a situation, and we do, that we cleaned and we paid for the cleanup, and we either did or will be billing that resident, they would still be entitled to the grant. However, if they had to go and clean it again, there is no loan, there is no grant, and it's payable on their taxes. So they'd have 2 years to pay.
I don't understand, you're saying they would qualify for the loan before they cleaned up the second time, or had it cleaned up, or it was forced to clean up?
If anything that we have, so what I would be proposing to you, and of course it's up to you, is that any receivables that we have now that have been caused by an unsightly cleanup that we went in, we have not given anybody any grant or any loan arrangement. So anything outstanding right now, and there might be 5, we would go to them and say, this policy shall apply to you, and it will apply to you on what we did, not again,
Okay.
on what we did. But you have to come in and make the payment arrangements, and you have to do this, and you have to do that, and if you don't, then it becomes a payable.
You mean by you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you mean they have to have the property re-cleaned, or re-clean it themselves?
Not really.
So if we have a situation, well, I think the answer to your question is if we have a receivable in our books now, and we have a mess at that property again, now,
Yeah,
I don't think they would be disqualified from the one-time loan.
and I'm suggesting just the opposite,
Right.
because it just opens up too many loopholes for somebody that's never gonna adhere to cleaning up their property.
Yeah. And.
That's what I think,
Yeah.
based on a lot of phone calls. Not what to do with the policies,
No.
just the complaints.
Councillor Digby?
And I would be willing to back Counselor Donaldson up on that 100%. As far as I'm concerned, if you're given or gonna help people with a loan like this, it's to help them. As far as I'm concerned, if we're helping them, they have to help us back or the people around them at some point in time. And that, just not give them money, clean up their property, and let their property fall in disrepair again. And it's pitiful. There's no need of it, and, you know, if somebody's, their back's against the wall, they're down on funds, and they wanna get a building cleaned up, and they come in and approach the municipality for some money to help them, I'm all for it 100%. But how many times do you keep helping somebody out and that, and, you know, this is other taxpayers' money that we're giving out to help, you know, these people, so, no, I back Counselor Donaldson up 100% on that. As far as that party not being eligible for this program.
And another thing I have a concern about, I don't believe municipal staff should be doing the cleanup. I think it should be subcontracted out to professional cleaners, first on site. A number of companies probably do it. I don't think the onus should be on municipal staff to be hauling stuff out of people's property, and it's, that's what I feel anyhow. I mean, it's not their job to go in and repile and sort and.
Councillor Strickland.
So, if I understand this right, if we've got some people that are, have issues, whatever they may be, and it's an ongoing thing, what are the chances they're gonna pay this loan? So what is the difference from the way we're doing it now? You know, in one sense, I mean, I know what the difference is, or some of it, I got to read it maybe 5 times again, but, or you show us the numbers, but if somebody's not paying because it's going to tax sales, what makes this, do you think? Because some of these people with these issues, that they're gonna be any different because of a loan? That's a question that I've got.
Yeah.
Do you think I believe they're gonna be in the same mess, and they're not paying now, we've got 4 or 5, and I think a lot of these, maybe not all like Councillor Dick said, somebody that fell on hard times or something like that, but a lot of these have a lot of issues. So I'm wondering if they're gonna end up paying this, like they're not doing it now.
Yeah.
That's my question, I wonder.
I think that, you know, that's a legitimate concern. You know, from our perspective, they're not paying it now.
Yes,
If we gave them an agreement that said you had to pay so much a month and they had to abide by that agreement, that's better than what we have right now.
right.
And so, you know, in one way it's better and in another way it's worse. Because right now, without having any real guidance and trying to deal with these big receivables, we've been holding off on charging interest because it doesn't make any sense to tack on 16% on a $12,000 bill, and we're not collecting on the 12,000, so we're just gonna write off that. So at this point, I'm like, I don't like that decision because there's no policy that defines what we should be doing. So right now, that decision is being made administratively, not by policy. So,
Get you.
so,
That's not fair.
no, and so so in a situation where you've got that, you've got clarity around, okay, here's the interest rate, and if they do default, then it's immediate and it's 16% and they know it, right? So the clarity around that
Thank you very much.
may encourage
Helps
them,
me out a bit
it
more.
may encourage them,
Yes.
but if they can't afford it, they can't afford it.
They did, well, no, but how you doing? Yeah.
And the grant is not necessarily gonna help if somebody doesn't have anything.
That's right.
15% of 10,000 is not gonna help that particular individual. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
But at least this would give you
Yeah.
a policy to, yeah, I follow you, okay.
And it's.
Thank you for that.
It is a challenge, however, the way I see it is, there might be, they won't pay it, it's gonna go on their taxes regardless. Right now, the way we're doing it now, it should go on their taxes. Do we do that now?
They receive, yes, when it's billed, they see the amount owing on their taxes.
Okay, so
But
say, but then if they don't.
but we haven't brought it to-
Oh, there's only one thing with the taxes, as long as they make a few payments, you can't put it to tax sale, which includes that amount, right?
Yes, but there's 2 properties in particular that we have not brought to tax sale. We made an administrative decision not to bring to tax sale because,
whatever reason.
because it was, I mean, there was, you know, sometimes it's personal reasons, death in the
Exactly,
family and
exactly.
certain elements that,
Yes.
and not all of these have been 2 years,
No,
right?
anyway.
They're not, they
Exactly.
don't qualify yet
Okay.
for that.
But at least the way I see it is, you know, it gives people a chance to pay it back maybe a little easier than where it is now. You know what I mean? Like if they can they don't have to pay it all at once, they can spread that over a number of years. And like Councillor Donaldson said, we know some of them, regardless of what you do, it's gonna get back. We know that because it's happening. You clean it, it gets right back. Worse
Well,
than it was. But
it's very simple. You don't qualify for the loan if your property is in a state
Mhm.
of unsightliness and dangerous.
Yeah.
Even if it has been made if it's been rectified
Yeah.
and then reverted back, I mean, why would you qualify for?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that would entail another inspection and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me what is required in this policy to address your concern is a transitional piece, right? You may not want to deal with those that are offending now in the same way that you would deal with those that offend in the future. So the thing is if somebody is going to be a repeat offender, that's not something you're interested
No.
in supporting, right?
Yeah, I can understand somebody's old barn blowing down, and they don't have the resources to clean
Yes.
it up. And we go help them out, clean it up, put them under this tender love and care program you have, and over time, they'll sort it out. But
Mhm.
some hard not to bring up names, but.
I know.
Well, there's two in your, there's two in your area, and one I can, in both situations are not, they are unsightly. Or at least were at some point. So one of them is working very diligently to try to clean, but the person doesn't have the means to do it on their own. So that's what the dangerous and unsightly provisions is hopefully going to do. So it sounds to me, based on your concerns, is that we haven't really ironed out who qualifies. Like, we need to understand that better, is what I'm hearing, if that's a fair statement. Because there are people that have barns blowing down. They have people that, inherit a house and can't afford to keep it, and then the house deteriorates, and, those things do happen. So, it sounds like we need to work a little bit more on the, who qualifies piece.
But the person that keeps
Really?
throwing, person that keeps throwing things
Yes.
in his yard to make it unsightly, because then it's a whole different ballgame as far as I'm concerned.
There
you know.
should be somewhere in this policy that the municipality will build 10 to 12 foot fences to hide unsightly.
Is that high enough?
Well, the neighbor's quite high, looking down.
30 feet.
Councillor Wong.
As the other councillors has mentioned, I think, we do need to make a little bit of tweaking, as we mentioned, to figure out who qualifies. However, I would like to tip my hat to you, because this, for me, and as other councillors mentioned, for them as well, is a major issue in my community. So I see this notice as a step forward, and I think it's the right step. So, looks like hopefully things will get better in the future with a tightened up policy. So, a thanks to staff. It's a good job, well done. It's a good start. That's it.
Now,
Okay.
do you have anything else, Theo Muse, or
I-
you've gone
I've-
through basically what?
Yeah, I've said more than enough. any sort of additional feedback,
Yes.
I'll just be taking notes and
Okay.
trying to bring you a better document.
It's a
Anybody,
good start.
It's a good document.
It's a good start.
anybody else?
But no policy in the long run is
pure.
gonna help, but there's, at times, you gotta play hardball. There's just no way around it. I mean, if you go to Halifax to an R1 zone, they're not gonna allow 2 pop cans on somebody's lawn, and they're gonna get a notice. So, I mean, we gotta,
Yeah.
Bite the bullet and do it.
And the MGA, the direction the MGA gives is you absolutely have that power. And most of the dangerous and unsightly policies across Nova Scotia are enforcement related.
Mhm.
They don't have the TLC component, right? They go in, they tell you to clean, and if you don't clean, they clean it for you, and the bill comes in the mail, and that's it.
Because we gotta remember, neighbors have a quality of life concern and property value concern, and, I mean, we gotta take that into account too.
We do. I agree. Okay. The other piece that perhaps you could think about is whether the calculation, are you willing to do relief under any circumstance? I think that I would like that kind of input from you.
I would.
I would.
I think,
I would.
And if so, I'm gonna work on who ought to qualify and how that
Right.
works, so we'll work that through.
It's an incentive. It's
And
an
then, but then
incentive.
the maximum funding might be something that we wanna consider as well. Like, I will give you some calculations, you can calculate it on your own based on assumptions, but like, give you some examples of what this might mean, for people so that you have an idea.
Yeah, that would help if you get the numbers and see what the numbers look like.
So you're not opposed to a grant, you're certainly not opposed to a loan,
No.
you're opposed to anybody getting it.
This is
just, yeah.
the way I see it.
I'm all
Stricter,
for
yeah.
helping out somebody. It's as simple as that. Some people get into a position sometimes where they never thought they were gonna get in.
Yeah.
And their back is against the wall, financially they're having a hard time. They would like some help, and I feel as though we as a council should be there to help them. But some people, you can only help so much, and then it gets that, they just start throwing it back at you. And I don't think we should put ourselves in that position, myself personally.
Okay,
Right? It's great, thank you.
Great.
we'll
Thank
move
you.
on. Correspondence, and for information, unsightly vessel in Wedgeport, and that's Councillor Long.
Just north of the tuna wharf, there's an area where in years past, many years past, it was common for people to haul up their boats there. Probably back then legalities weren't considered and people just put their boats there for the summer or for the winter, so it'd be, so there's a gentleman from Westport some time ago, quite some time ago, 10 years maybe, I'm really just guessing on that one. Purchased a vessel, I don't think he ever used it that much. He built a cradle for it to kind of like a drag almost, to haul it up out of skids. And he pulled it up in that area where many years ago people would have pulled their boats north of the wharf. What's changed since that time is property's been bought, property's been developed right to the water. So lawns, there's a property where several houses can see it, but one lawn goes right to it. And this boat's hauled up basically in the view of the bay of one of these homes. So the vessel owner isn't a landowner in any way in the area. The vessel's in a tricky spot. I've tried to find whose jurisdiction the vessel falls under. It's near the high water mark, so I've talked to Department of Lands and Forests. They basically stated we have nothing to do with that, although I felt it was maybe more their department. So I consulted with the municipality. I should backtrack. The neighbors tried to consult with the owner in an amicable way and say, you know, could you please move this? And I don't think the owner is opposed to moving it. It's not, there was no negative feedback in that sense. It just doesn't have the financial means. The boat was put there and left there and it's not being used. And I think a quote was gathered by the residents who are affected by their view of this vessel, and it's around $1,000. Company would haul it behind their property. They're boat haulers. It's a boat building business, would haul it behind their property where they store boats for about $1,000. So that was mulled over for some time, but basically the owner of the vessel doesn't have the financial means to do that. So the landowners don't feel it's their financial responsibility to pay for someone else to move a boat that they put there. So they asked me if the municipality had some sort of cleanup fund of any kind. And although we have, you know, various funding programs, nothing of that nature falls under that category. So I'm bringing it to council. It's $1,000 to move it. I want to hear your input, how to move forward.
Don't we have an unsightly, we're working on a nice unsightly and dangerous? Wouldn't that
We are.
follow in there?
The-
Yeah.
The difficulty, just if I
Oh,
may,
sure.
the difficulty with that is this, typically when there's dangerous and unsightly things, it's charged to the property. And
So it's on the property though.
It's on somebody else's property.
it's
So-
not on the same property
It's not
as
his.
as the owner of the
boat.
vessel. So
But
the,
if it's on that property, are they responsible for it?
they are.
It's not their boat.
Technically, they
Yeah,
would
that's
be.
what I mean.
Yeah, and so that happens all the time, right? When somebody dumps garbage on a vacant lot,
Great
right?
point.
And,
Great
you know,
point.
it's not the fault of the owner, but the
I get
owner's
you.
responsible for the
Yep.
cleanup,
You've
unfortunately.
answered me, yeah.
And so that's the problem, right? Is that the landowner would be,
Yeah.
if we go in and do it an unsightly,
Yeah.
the landowner would be held responsible and not the boat owner.
We did it in Hillbrook, to help in Hillbrook, and you can do it one spot, but, you know, we can do it at the other spot. I mean, this is up to council, but, you know, I have no problem with that.
That's what I was just gonna bring up, the boat that was in Neil Lake, that we cleaned. But didn't that fall basically under environmental issues, or was it?
Yeah. Yeah,
Unsightly.
we were asked to address the problem because nobody seemed to want to address the problem. And in fact, the community led the solution more than we did.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it was a 3/4 sunk boat with probably gas in the tank and
Oil.
oil in the motor engine, whatever. Yeah, we did support it. I think we supported it. My best calculation would be between $400 and $600 it costs. Would have cost us 3 times that if the community didn't help. So, but yeah, we did pay a portion of that cleanup, because nobody else would.
Certainly, I think it's a great thing to show our support and help out, hey, nothing wrong with that, but that's my opinion, yeah.
Any other comments?
I'm gonna abstain from
Oh,
any of
because-
these
okay.
comments
Yeah.
because I've got a family member, related to the party that owns the, I believe, boat. So,
Makes sense.
In your opinion, Councillor Wong, is there any value in this boat?
What's ironic
Great point.
is yes, it's not, I wouldn't go so far as to put it a derelict vessel.
Okay.
It's a vessel that could one day be used. I mean, it's an older boat. It's not a lobster boat. It's more of a pleasure craft, a large,
It's not an option.
quite large pleasure craft. I'm just guessing, but like 35 feet or something like that.
I'm just wondering if the owner would release ownership and have so-called person that was willing to move it, take it as payment.
That's a great question. I don't know the intention of the owner when he bought the vessel. It's been there for a very long time.
A very long time.
I think there's enough value left in it that he might not agree to that. Like, it's not, there's some value to it, so I think maybe he might have a plan for it someday. But right now, it's in someone who invested a significant amount into a property. It's in their view of the bay, and I think they wanted to build a wharf and things like that right there. And he doesn't have the funds to move it, so that's about, anything else after that I'd be lying. I don't know much more than that.
Would we be liable, is my next question. And,
Because
you
we-
know, could you check, would we be liable for anything if we're doing that? I know we did it in Hillbrook, so we took the liability there, I would presume, if anything goes wrong. What about here? Can the owner come back on us? You ruined something, that's my boat.
Well,
You have to have a letter.
what we, I mean, if we were gonna move it, we would engage a company to do that would have appropriate insurance in order to move a boat of that nature. Like, we wouldn't try to do it ourselves.
Would he have to sign a release letter like Councillor Johnson said?
Does he have to
Because
sign?
if he touch it, it's not ours.
Yeah, do we need permission from him?
Yes, that's-
I don't know that right offhand, it's possible.
See, the difference is that in Millbrook, they didn't know who the owner
That's right.
was.
Nobody
Oh,
wanted to
yeah.
claim
Right.
responsibility.
Nobody,
Right.
so this way, it is somebody, like, that's my question, does he get the boat back? Like, are we paying $1,000 for him to take his boat and go? Is that basically, where does the boat go once it's pulled out?
Okay, so to answer some of the questions,
Yes,
I believe, like I said, I don't think he has immediate plans for the boat. I think there's enough value left in it. To relinquish it would likely not be, I can't speak for him. I gotta
Right.
make that very clear. We would have to have a conversation with him prior to moving it. However, I would guess relinquishing the ownership of the boat, no. But the company that would haul it up is less than a kilometer away. It's a boat shop that hauls up boats and stores them behind them. They have a big trailer. They do this every day. And just from experience, it's not a relatively hard. You push the boat in the water, you haul it there, you put it on a trailer, you haul it up, you put it on blocks. It's basically just moving it. And I think what the owner would say is, I don't have the financial means to move it. I don't have a plan for it, but if you want to take it from point A and park it in point B and it bothers less people, all the power to you. That is what I'm guessing, just from conversations I had with the residents that they felt from the owner. So as far as liability, as someone raised, the boat shop that hauls up boats would, you know, have an insurance for when they haul up boats.
So once it's moved, is there a lease to put it behind the boat shop?
That's right.
I understood it was loosely $1,000 to haul it up, and that was it.
Okay.
You get that on paper?
I don't have it on paper.
Yeah.
I'm really going by hearsay right now, and I don't.
And I mean, I think you have to realize that since it hasn't moved for how long now? If they move it to their location, how long is it gonna be there?
I don't think that's a concern.
Okay?
Again, I'm bringing it here before I go and talk to
Yeah,
everyone
no,
and get
that's
everything
fair
organized. So
enough.
it's sort of, which do you do first here? If council were to support this, then we could get a little more information. I guess what you could do tonight, if it was council's wish to support it, we could make a motion supporting a certain amount of money and then make the arrangements, and if the arrangements don't fall on all parties' intentions, well then you're back at the drawing board, I guess. Just a thought.
So what's the wishes?
I'll just say this, I'm all for, as long as we're legally and we're not liable for anything, and it's, and this year, don't take this the wrong way.
No.
And it's not just, well, he said this and he said that. If we had something on paper that says this guy will, no problem, he would sign something. And the boat shop would say, it's on the land and we can keep it there. If we had those papers, to me, we can't go by hearsay. That's the only thing I want to know, yes.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be, you know what I'm
No,
saying?
it's, and I feel the same way. We didn't go as far, if staff could just, maybe, I don't know if staff has that capacity, but draft a very quick letter saying, you know, as long as we're not responsible, I'm sure they would, both sides would sign it.
So we didn't really have any jurisdiction to do anything in this situation. If council wants wants to direct its staff to do work in this area, I would suggest that you would just simply do that. Because the moment you make any sort of financial commitment, that's public information. And in fact, you know, you have a situation where it's gonna cost a certain amount to move a boat, of which the old owner continues to be the owner. The value of the boat probably exceeds the cost to move it. And so we've done it to benefit a neighbor's unsightly issue, but we, you know, there's a lot of other like kind of details.
Right.
So we weren't in the position to do anything about it because, well, I mean, we could clean it up for $1,000 and charge the property owner, but
Yeah.
we knew that that was not the intention
No.
of the property owner or anyone involved, so we didn't do anything. So if we're given direction to investigate, we will investigate, we'll bring back the information to you,
Yeah.
so that it's not, you know, so that the administrative work is done on your behalf.
Yeah.
And then the council can make a decision based on that information.
Then we'd have more answers here at the table, yeah. I think that is the appropriate way to go
Exactly.
forward.
Yes.
One more question, the owner of the boat, says it's his boat, but is there legal paperwork that shows that it is his boat? Like, I mean,
I haven't gone that far, but I do know for a long time now that this has always been his boat, and it's always been there, and it's his boat. I mean, I guess
oh,
I
I'm
haven't,
not questioning that, but
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
have the paper.
That's right.
does he have a paper?
not really sure it matters at this point, really, it's
Okay.
just to move it. And,
No, but if you moved it and then you wanted to reclaim it, and somebody said, well, show me that it's your boat. That's all I'm getting at. I mean, I'm not trying to.
what do you mean by
Besides,
reclaim it?
No, no, no.
No,
I would suggest, if we're gonna move it, to consult with the owner and make sure it's fine with him,
Exactly.
and then you can.
But if he wants the boat back, work on it at some point, somebody's over $1,000, right?
Thank you.
Whether it's the person that moved the boat, or whether we pay the person to move the boat. I mean, there's still $1,000, let's say you use $1,000, there's still $1,000 bill there.
Yes, and I guess my intentions were to see if council was willing to spend that $1,000 to move the boat for the
Okay.
resident.
But
I understand that.
yes, but I think at this point, what CMU said would be to at least give direction to investigate.
Yep.
And then we can bring this back to another meeting,
You
Yeah.
could-
once you have more information on
There's a
it.
lot of administrative work
course.
that needs to be done to support your council decision.
Yeah.
Of course.
But what we would need is an indication that you're agreeing with your fellow councilor that it's something that we want to investigate, and at that point we will.
So
Right
I'll make-
now,
I'll make a motion that we instruct staff to investigate all sides of this issue, in reference to the vessel hauled up on another person's property, and can consult with all sides, meaning the owner, the property owner, as well as the businesses agreeing to haul it up at another location, and bring it back to the council table for decision.
Okay,
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
seconder for that,
Second?
moved and seconded.
Question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Carried. Thank you. Next is correspondence. Oh, yeah, we were in correspondence. That was correspondence. Internet for Nova Scotia Initiative. I'm just gonna go through them and ask you if you have any questions or whatever. The Western Regional Enterprise Network, the August newsletter. Letter of thanks from Westport Tuna Tournament.
Danny,
Yes?
Councillor LeBlanc, how did the tuna tournament go? Could you just, if you would mind, just.
How did what,
How did
sorry?
it go? There was a lot of people there.
Great turnout. Something different this year. A lot of the bluefin were caught on the northern edge of Georges Bank. That is a place, normally we have a gentleman's agreement during the tournament that we do not go to the northern edge. Basically, contrary to what you would read in the media, on the northern edge of Georges Bank, tuna are almost like mosquitoes there.
What?
Yes, there's plenty of them. However, it's been the opinion in the past that they're slightly less quality because there's a lot of scallopers there and they'll eat the scallop frills going overboard, and scallop frills have a bit of acidity to it, so it adds the acidity to the meat, so they're lesser quality. However, luckily, from what I gather, the quality wasn't bad on the northern edge this year. And because fishing was slower in one area, and it's been something that's been talked about, mulled over for some time, that in case we ever need to, we would open the northern edge, so it happened this year. So the vessels were able to go to the northern edge, and some cool footage and stories came out of it. There was, like, hundreds of tuna swooping at bait when you threw it overboard, and I wasn't there myself. We stayed on the German bank, but really cool to see. For an example, this is not related to council, but it's cool, too cool not to share. A lot of these vessels caught their tuna on the northern edge by chumming, throwing bait so it attracts the tuna, and the tuna are smart enough. The vessel caught its tuna and stopped chumming and started heading for home. The tuna are smart enough to follow the vessel, thinking someone will throw a chum over. So the vessel traveled the whole 100 miles home and still had tuna underneath the boat.
Get out.
So some of the vessels that were fishing close to shore actually met the vessel coming from Georges Bank, got them to stop through chum and hook tuna. That they
That's pretty cool.
followed the boat from Georges Bank, so it was a pretty cool phenomenon. But all in all, as far as the organization side of things, Chloe Nickerson is the event coordinator, and she did a phenomenal job. The whole thing was great, and hate to brag, but it's one of the biggest, or the biggest event in the municipality, so it's always super cool to watch it happen. It's my favorite time of year. I call it my Christmas, I guess. So everything was good.
And my family was down from Ottawa. There's 5 brothers and sisters, and they all went.
Good,
First time they couldn't believe
good.
it. It was great. Yeah.
Glad to hear.
Thank you.
I was away for the closing.
Is that right?
Yeah, that was in New Brunswick.
It was well attended.
I missed it for the first time in many years. There was also a thank you letter from the Kempville Bicentennial Society where we gave them a grant. Financial requests. Oh, I thought there was one. Or did
There,
we?
there was one, but it was actually a financial thank you letter, so it was moved out of there.
Okay, okay.
It was the Kentville.
Yes, the Kentville. Well, I saw that, and I couldn't remember seeing it, and I thought it'd come here, and I hadn't seen it, because they plan on applying, right?
Yeah, yeah, you just, you
Yeah,
just
I
wanted,
knew they
you
planned
just
on
wanted to
applying.
brag that you read the agenda well in advance.
Yes,
That's
I
all
knew
you're
there was
doing right
something.
now.
that's
I
right.
knew there was something.
Okay, agenda topics for next meeting. Or notice of motion. Or question period, nothing online.
Could I just go back to 14 for,
Yes.
just
14.
for information? As,
Yes.
we're in the last year of our collections contract for waste, curbside pickup. So we're in year 5 of 5.
Wow,
Already.
Can't
yeah.
believe it.
So, so
Wow.
we'll be doing some work in that area. We're gonna go to competition, but one of the, I'm gonna reach out to our neighboring municipalities to find out when their deadline is, and, I need to go to see procurement and see, you know, I guess, I don't know the answer to this question yet, but if the timing is such that it's not on the same year, and we could make it on the same year, and that would be advantageous from a pricing perspective, then we should try to do that. So I've reached out to Barrington, I haven't yet to reach out to the municipality of Yarmouth. The town would be less likely to happen, because their pickup is so much different than ours. So, because it's town versus rural, right? So, anyway, so I just wanted to let you know that will be coming up. Either a multi-year contract will be coming up, or an extension, if that's even possible, of 1 year on the existing contract, or something along those lines.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Good. Okay, we have an in-camera session, so
Motion to go into camera.
Second.
moved and seconded.